Hello there. Today we're talking about 3 easy steps to personal robot butlers. So basically what we're talking about is why do we not have personal robots today? When are we going to get them? This is probably the most cliche question to ask for a robotics company, but we're going to tackle it because we think that we've got some answers that nobody else has. We don't know if they're right. Time will tell. But basically, let's talk about the problem. Let's talk about why we have this this expectation of personal robots since like the 20s. In fact, in the 1920, the term robota, is that right? R-A-B-O-T-A. It was a Czech term where the word robot was derived from that term in English. Rabota. It's very cool. That was Czech writer Karl Kapik. I got a blog post about this. You can read the information. He coined the term robota back in 1920, and then in 1942, Isaac Asimov coined the term robotics, and he really catapulted robotics and robots as this kind of cultural icon. Right? This is the future, where we're heading. And people thought, for good reason, that it wouldn't be long until we got there, right? They thought, shoot, probably just a few years we're going to be having, I think the expectation was like by the end of the 20th century we would have robots running around doing our chores, doing laundry, that kind of stuff. But here we are, 2020 or 2018, and no personal robots. We've got some really cool robots. Like I should show you guys what I'm talking about here. I mean, I'm surprised just how few people have let's see. There we go. Just how few people have seen these videos. The personal the Boston Dynamics, the doing the backflip robot. I mean, this is incredible. Like, you look at its movement too. I wonder how they do the controls for it, because the movement seems so human. I feel like they must have trained the lower level controllers using machine learning and like training based on some recorded data of people doing backflips. I mean, look at whenever it moves around, like the way it uses the arms there, that's so, one arm that way, the one arm the other way. It's incredible. And then we've got an older robot, the PR2. Look at this guy. So this is the PR2 playing pool. Man, this is my dream for the TR1. I gotta take a week off work and try to figure out how to program the TR1 to do this. Let's see if we can get a shot of it playing or getting a good shot in here. Come on now. Okay, I just skipped over. Here we go. There we go. It hits the shot. Oh, it missed. Okay. Well, anyway. Oh, here's a good shot. There we go. That was great. So the PR2, we've got great robots, right? So what's up with, it's like when the PR2 came out, everybody was so excited because it was like the first like really good robot platform that kind of captured the minds of people, and it was like awesome. What company was that? Willow Garage. They're going to build the robots of the future. You see all these videos on Facebook and stuff, and it's like, oh, we're just a few years away. Like, look, they've already built the robot. Why is it not in my home, right? It's like the robot's there. I can see it's doing all this cool stuff. Why is it not in my home yet? Well, I'll tell you why. These robots are very, very, very expensive. The PR2, it's a $400,000 robot. The company shut down because it's so expensive. And Yeah, so that robot's way too expensive. You've got the Boston Dynamics Atlas. That's not even for sale, but I mean, come on. This thing's going to be 10, 15 million bucks, I guarantee it. And you can't even buy it. And just think of all the time, research, money went into to building that. I know they've raised billions of dollars, billions with a B. Okay, so that's where we're at today. It's different from where we are. So our thesis here is that the personal robotics, in order to develop properly, we need three things. We need an affordable, capable platform. So we need a robot that can do this stuff, but not be hundreds of thousands of dollars. I get into why in a second, if it's not obvious. The second thing, we'll do it like that. The second thing is that we need engineers to buy that platform and go on and build applications for it. So the hardware, then we need the software, and then we need a mass market strategy. We need to get this thing to moms, right? That's the end goal. So with my company right now, we're selling to machine learning engineers, right? That's who we're selling to. We're selling to machine learning engineers who are excited about the future of robotics and want to be a part of it. That's what we're selling. Our goal is to sell to moms. If I can sell to moms one day, I can sell a robot to a mom, and that's our target market, you know we'll be doing well. That's the end game. That's where the money's at, man. Okay, so affordable platform, we need engineers to build applications, and then moms. So let's talk about why the affordable platform problem is so important. It seems obvious, but nobody's addressing it. At Slate Robotics, we sell a $4,500 humanoid platform. The cheapest platform you can buy on the market today that has an arm and is mobile. You're lucky if you can get under 50 grand. And you're not going to be able to just go on the website and just order one, right? Okay, so let's talk about that price for a second. How much would you pay for a butler? You can actually have your own butler right now, today. It's actually going to be better than a personal robot. So why not just buy a butler or hire a butler? Because it's too expensive. The value that the butler provides is way more, for most people, way more than the cost. Or I'm sorry, the cost is way more than the value. If you're a very, very, very rich person, then your time, the amount of money you can make in an hour, is way more than how much it costs to have a butler. I mean, really. So that's why, really rich people buy jets and planes and stuff like that, because the value of their time is so much more than the cost of the jet. So same thing with butler. So for the average person, the amount of, if you look at like how much chores they do around the house and how much work, like yard work and stuff like that, if you were to say, what's the economic value of that? If you were able to reinvest that into something productive, man, you're looking maybe like $3,000 to $5,000 a year, maybe. So if that's the economic value, then the cost of the robot, the net present value of the robot, has to be below the net present value of just the economic value of the labor. So what I'm saying is, if it's $3,000 to $5,000 a year, and I'm just pulling that number out of thin air, maybe it's more, maybe it's less, but if it's $3,000 to $5,000 a year, then the cost of the robot has to be in that range, right? So let's say you buy a $5,000 robot, and it provides you over 5 years $15,000 to $25,000 of value. That's a good deal. That's a good deal. It has to make economic sense. But what nobody's working on is how do we bring the cost down? And that's what we're doing at Slate Robotics. So we want an affordable, capable robot platform. Part of the reason why nobody's working on it is because hardware sucks. Software is the business everyone wants to get into. Software is the business VCs want to fund. VCs, and I haven't gone hard on the investment game here at Slate Robotics. We haven't tried to go out and do lots of fundraising. Mostly it's because we have pre-orders, right? So we can fund our operations through pre-orders, and we get the cash up front to fulfill those orders. So we don't need loads of cash up front today. But I have friends that have robotic startups, and they've gone out and tried to raise capital. And from what I've heard, all VCs say the same thing: get out of hardware, get out of hardware, get out of hardware. And it's for good reason. Rethink Robotics just shut down. They sold a robot platform. They raised $150 million. They were founded in 2008. Jibo was one of these social robots. They raised over $70 million. And so, over the course of 10 years, there's, I don't know how, when Jibo was founded, but Rethink Robotics was founded in 2008. So they spent $150 million, poof, in 10 years, just went away. But on the other side, you've got all these machine learning startups that require virtually no capital, and they're having wild success. I can think of a few machine learning startups that have sold north of $100 million to big companies like Intel and Facebook and things like that. So what all the data suggests is don't do hardware, do software, and it's for good reason. The evidence supports that thesis. But all that tells us, though, is that it's really hard, and virtually nobody's incentivized to want to start a hardware startup for robotics. So, here at Slate Robotics, we've started the stupidest the stupidest startup anybody could possibly think of. Everybody's failed. Everybody that's wanted to come in and we're going to build the, quote, future of personal robotics, they've all failed. So, it's kind of arrogant of us to come in and think that we can do it ourselves. But nobody's worked on the affordable side of it. Okay, so that's the unique. That's what's unique about us. Okay, so once you build the affordable platform, what's next? It's got to solve a problem for somebody specifically the day it comes on the market. You can't just say, we're going to build the robot of the future. You have to have some market success. So you have to solve a problem for somebody today, not just a problem for somebody 10 years from now. Okay? Nobody's going to give you any money for a problem you're going to solve 10 years from now. So you have to build a platform for engineers that gives them all the features that they want and allows them to learn everything they want to learn about advanced robotics and apply their machine learning in a new, novel way, right? So let's talk about the personal computing revolution for a second. So how did personal computers come about? Because I think this is useful for figuring out how do we make personal robots come about. Personal computers came about because some guys figured out how to build an affordable computer that captured the imaginations of engineers. Okay. So the Apple I and Apple II, these were, and along with the Altair 8800 and the Commodore PET, these were the early computers that were affordable enough for engineers to purchase, and they were actual computers. So other companies today in the robotics space, they come along and they say, okay, we're going to build a development platform. But who cares if it doesn't have if it doesn't capture the imagination, right? I'm talking about like manipulation, mobile, able to work in human environments, those sorts of things. The early computers, the early personal computers, what made them so great, you compare them to today's computers and they're terrible. They're absolute crap. But what made them great for their time was that they were actual computers, right? They were practically, for all intents and purposes, they were the same thing as like a mainframe, but just on a much, much smaller scale. That's what made them so successful. They weren't, they weren't missing RAM, right? They weren't missing, the ability to add peripherals, right? They weren't missing hard drive. They had everything that the big guys had, but just on a smaller scale. So you've got to have the same thing with personal robotics. You've got to have the same thing that these kinds of platforms that we just looked at today, you've got to have the same thing. But the way you can bring the cost down is to do it on a smaller scale, to do it slower, to do it with less, accuracy and repeatability, these kinds of things, right? That's where you compromise as far as the cost goes. You don't compromise on, well, we'll just make like a 12-inch tall robot, So again, okay, so personal computers came in, captured the imaginations, and it was a few years, and then somebody came along and built VisiCalc, which was the first spreadsheet application. So this was the first application that somebody who didn't know anything about computers could use and get immense amount of value from. Okay, so you have the personal computer. It was just a toy for engineers to figure out how to program, to learn how to program, to see what they can do, to get excited about the future, to learn how to play a role in the future. And then someone comes along and builds a useful application, and all of a sudden the market booms for personal computers. It was tiny, tiny, tiny. If you would have asked somebody, in the mid 70s, 1975, how big's the market for personal computers, microcomputers at the time, it would have been tiny. But the market size blew up because engineers were able to build useful applications. Same thing with personal robotics. You attack this small market of engineers who want to learn more about humanoid robotics, machine learning engineers who want to play a role in the future of robotics and personal robotics. And eventually, together with the community, we build our killer app that has mainstream success. Now, with the computer, that was just a few years. 1977, I think, is when the Apple II came out. 1976 is when the Apple I came out. 74 or 5, I think, is when the Altair 8800 came out. And VisiCalc came out in 79, I believe. So it took just 3 or 4 years for computers to come along and attack the mass market. I predict it's a little longer for human-sized robots, but who knows? So what we're doing at Slate Robotics is we're trying to provide, kind of the Apple I and the Apple II of robotics. So that hopefully one of our customers can take this thing and they can build. Who knows what our VisiCalc is going to be? It could possibly be, doing laundry or, picking up stuff, cleaning the table. Who knows what our killer app is going to be? But that's, if we want to grow the market, that's what we've got to do. So step 1, affordable platform. Step 2, engineers build useful applications. And then step 3, should be obvious by now, attack the mass market by having that killer application. And the market keeps growing and growing from there. By more and more people getting involved in robotics and more applications coming online and that kind of thing. So that's our thesis. That's it. It's just a 3-step plan. Affordable robot, useful applications, finally mass market. Who knows if we're right? Who knows if this is the right way to attack it? But I think we've got a nice, convenient analogy for personal computers that we can apply to personal robotics. And I don't think anybody else is trying it. I don't think anybody else has really tried to appropriately tackle the how do we build an affordable, capable robot platform. And that's precisely what the TR1 is. Thanks for asking, by the way. The TR1 is a $4,500 humanoid robot that you can buy today. Orders take 8 to 12 weeks to ship. We do have an order backlog we got to catch up with. And the TR1, $4,500. U.S. continental shipping is $300, which brings your grand total to $4,749. If that is too much for you, which I don't know why it would be, what a steal this robot is. You can do a one-arm version for $3,500 with shipping and everything. If you want to pick that up, if you're in the area, if you're in Springfield, Missouri, you can come pick that up yourself for $3,200. And this is a robot that a type of robot that nobody's offering on the market today. So check out our website, slaterobots.com/TR1 for more information. And if you guys have any comments or questions about any of this, please feel free to put them down in the comments and contact me any way that you want. Thank you much for your time. My name's Zach Allen, and I will see you next time.